So a little over a month and a half ago, I decided that I was going to get into driving a two-wheel drive rear motor vintage buggy at our local track here in Ohio. Already run my B7 there. Have a great time. It's a smaller track. Take a look here. CRC black carpet, all that stuff, but these big wooden jumps can be very demanding, especially on thin aluminum chassis. But I firmly still believe in this Cougar 2 Works platform. I'm Chad, this is the Dorky and 40 RC channel. We're going to try to make the Cougar 2 Works faster today. First of all, big shout out to all of the channel members, everybody that supports the channel here. R1 Works, Oval Works, Barth Racing Concepts. Appreciate all of you guys. Now, I want to thank the people on the Schumacher 2 Facebook forum, and a shout out to the RC Vintage Guy. Now, I don't see very many people doing much with this car outside of older videos, not much with the new stuff. Definitely not in the environment that I'm running. Now, I see people running this on carpet in the UK, and I saw Schumacher demonstrate the car on like Pop Along RC and stuff on the tracks. Of course, the tracks are a little bit more forgiving than what we had yesterday.
12.3, 20.1. 12.5, 14 flat.
And after yesterday, yeah, we had a lot of problems. I mean, you know, we've went through a few things here. So after bending yet another of these chassis mount bars and multiple different pieces, we actually ended up breaking it off the ball stud. We bent the chassis in multiple spots and everything. But again, I'm still a firm believer in this platform. And the reason being is I don't see Associated or anybody else doing something to make a race car. You know, they keep releasing products. And the biggest reason why I wanted to go with the Cougar 2 is I see that Schumacher did things like release a full type of spring kit, different option and modifying parts to use to race it in an outdoor and an indoor carpet type environment. So week one was pretty much, you know, your shakedown run where we found a lot of issues with the car. Belt was too loose, so on and so forth. A lot of things were going on with ball cups popping. So we've switched to like captives, pretty much the thing that everybody does. From the consensus is captives on the outside and the gray grippas on the insides, front and rear. That seemed to work out fairly well for just my little bit of testing that I did yesterday because we didn't have enough rear motors. I, was able to do really well again with the B7. 2 weeks in a row, we were able to claim the A-main victory. And this week was a really tough one. You know, we run in 21.5 just stock class. I mean, it is a driver's type of class. I ran 95% consistency almost in the final run, and we had, good average laps, good top fives, all that kind of stuff, and took home the win 2 weeks in a row. And my ultimate goal is to run this in a 21.5 just stock type of program and move the B7 to like 21.5 open. 21.5 is like pretty much like the carpet standard here in America. 17.5 on like the bigger tracks and stuff, but at a club level, 21.5 and 21.5 just stock with the smaller tracks and stuff that we have is just kind of like where the ticket is. We don't go and just overpower shit like a lot of the other people do that I see from all over the world. Nothing wrong with that, but like you're running I'm not going to put a 10.5 turn in this to run against someone in an open buggy class that is going to be running like a 4-wheel drive or a B7 or something like that and be totally outmatched. So we went through all the growing pains of week 1 and all that kind of stuff. Yesterday, we didn't have enough people for rear motor, so we just did some practice runs. And this week we had like this gapping cavernous jump with an over under. Let me show you here. And I may or may not have cased that jump a few times, resulting in chassis bends, of course, in the front and, of course, in the rear, even though we've got this 3D printed bulkhead and stuff installed here. Working on printing out another one, and I know that the person that makes this, I think, was talking about a different version. I would love to see some kind of improved version of that. I don't really know what else we could do to strengthen everything else up because, you know, we need a pretty much stiffening going on in this area right here. And then of course in this area. Now I have a lot of like carbon fiber type of strips. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to like try to skin the bottom of this chassis or try to work in some of the strips in certain areas. Of course, the lipo is going to be here. Don't really want to use this anymore. The carbon fiber tray is pretty good. This, I think, is a good idea at like an attempt to do something. I just think that like the moment of inertia, like when this thing is, you know, this will definitely help with chassis kind of rolling type of flex, but it's just not going to do anything for the hard impacts. And if you end up putting a steel rod in here, I don't think you're going to get much more of a benefit. You're probably just going to cause damage to this stuff, to your lipo posts and all that. So what would be nice is if this actually connected lower somehow or something, just to kind of like push out against the shock tower on a lower point, and instead of up here where the leverage is just kind of like so wonky and weird for it. But other than that, you know, all these issues I'm talking about, the thing does drive just amazing well. The amount of steering that's in this thing is just incredible. Whether you're running like cut staggers, I threw some splitters on there. Of course, we've been running the Azamis. I have 83 tooth spur. We got the whole setup and everything going with ChatGPT. Of course, I use OpenAI for all of my setup advice and stuff. I've got a video link right here that you can take a look at that if you want to learn how to use the power of AI to help get yourself a setup and stuff. Because let's face it, there's not many CRC black carpet setups for Schumacher Cougar 2 Works out there, and now there is. So I've seen a couple other parts that guys have been making. The servo mount here, I definitely would like to have one of those and have that shored up. And then I also saw that Willspeed has a metal steering rack. I would love to get that, but they don't ship to the US. They only do their through their distributors. So I have to reach out to somebody, one of the US distributors, to see if they're going to be placing a Willspeed order anytime soon, which they probably are not, to see if they would order one of those in, or if maybe I could reach out to one of my UK friends on the Facebook group to see if one of them would be willing to take some PayPal and send that over for me. So we did do like the 3D printed motor mount here that the one gentleman designed. A beautiful like 3-4 piece mount. Haven't installed that yet though. You know, yesterday really was just all about working on getting all of this set up correctly back here as far as the, you know, testing out the captives, making sure all that kind of stuff work, and trying not to break anything, which we did not do a very good job of. And then getting the ball diff, slipper, belt tensioning kind of right with like the eccentrics that are in there. Now, a lot of people talk about like the eccentrics and the belt tensioning. They use, you know, the clock hand position. My eccentrics are basically pointing, you know, down here at about, you know, what is this? Like the 7 o'clock, 7:30 type of position. And on this side, it would be like the 5 o'clock. if I rotate it up where people were showing before towards, I think pointing at like this gear screw up here, it's just super loose. So I don't understand. I'm using a video method that I saw that somebody posted where you want about 1 millimeter to 2 millimeter of like belt tension back there. And that seemed to have worked out pretty good. So the car itself has plenty of speed. But again, if you can't drive it and you can't survive, then that is the problem. We did break a rear shock tower yesterday, so that was a bummer. So, you know, I want to be able to race this at any setup that we have. And, you know, it's going to take a little bit more work to shore things up a little bit. But, you know, the night and day difference, if we would have had a track setup like we did 2 weeks ago yesterday, then we probably wouldn't have been in these problems that we had here. But I don't think that doing any of this extra work is going to hurt us in the end. It's pretty much just going to make everything better and the whole experience better. Now, just trying to figure out how to go about this. Again, do I want to like skin the bottom of the chassis, or do I want to try to get a bigger piece of carbon and just try to like cut things out and where things are going to go? I mean, I don't have like a CNC machine here. Like, I'm a one-man band, so this is literally going to be like Dremels, saws, and drills. So there's not going to be anything pretty about it, but we definitely can hopefully make it functional. I only printed this out of PLA and, you know, just a proof of concept, and it did not break or anything at all. I don't think that like structurally it had anything to do with preventing things from bending. I do have some of the PETG carbon fiber coming, and I wasn't prepared to drop the $150 on that PPA CF or whatever that stuff that Bamboo has, that like $150 a roll, like nylon, carbon fiber infused nylon. Not ready to do anything like that yet, but you know, if something like that is what it's going to take, then maybe that is the route that we might have to go. So if you guys got any tips or tricks or whatever, I would appreciate it. And don't say, well, just dump it and get rid of it and go with like an RC10 or whatever. All of these aluminum type of chassis, tub chassis, are going to have these kind of an issues with the rear motors. Maybe the RC10's a little bit less because they've got that like big upper lip and stuff like that to kind of like generate and hold some of that force. But again, the problem is they don't have all of the stuff set up and ready to go. Like, this thing really does drive well. Last week when I did not have everything set up appropriately in back, there was like a lot of grinding and stuttering like right off the start. But once the slipper gear like overrode the ball diff and everything, like got up to speed, it ran like super great. So I was pretty happy with it. The lap times weren't that far off of the B7. You know, again, 21.5 just stock in both of them. So pretty impressive. So we just got a little bit of things to work out. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Again, you got any tips or tricks, let me know. I'd appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Peace.